Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 8 of the Paws Up Podcast, your spot for all things FIU Athletics. He's Kevin. He's
Nope, other way.
Kevin.
There we go.
I am Jake. And we're just happy to be back here for our 8th episode of the show, Kevin. God, we're already on episode 8. Feels like
crazy.
just the other day we got the announcement that we'll be starting this thing, and now we're 8 episodes in.
It's been a fun ride, man. I mean, we've had some crazy guests, and you know, every once in a while we can take it down with the guest and just talk to you and me. Just chop up some FIU athletics.
Yeah. There's always something to be talked about with FIU, and some of the earlier episodes of the show, they've been strictly football based. As we've gotten to basketball, we've given them more and more spotlight. But there's something on the horizon, Kevin, and it's America's pastime. Baseball is getting ready to start in just a few weeks. So with that said, I thought we'd talk a bit about baseball today on the show. So without further ado, let's pull up the FIU baseball 2023 schedule that was announced a couple of weeks ago.
There you have it.
The opening week is on the is in mid-February against George Mason. The cool thing about this is FIU basically begins the month of February at home. So, for the fans out there who want to get into the games early, the beginning of the season, FIU has you covered. And then after a quick road trip against Florida Gulf Coast, FIU will come back and play 4 straight opponents at home in the month of March. So
Got it.
Wow, I think it's actually a really nice schedule for the Panthers, especially early on.
I mean, especially for us, we're going to be able to cover almost all of these games. We were kind of putting up a plan in place for this, along with our good buddy Gabe, who also covers FIU baseball. Yeah. This will be my first year covering FIU baseball. Extremely exciting. This is you're nothing new to this, Jake. This is pretty new. So we are very, very excited. Obviously, we'll be making the only road trip of the year over to the Stadium. What is it called? Alex Rodriguez Stadium?
It's
or Mark Light.
I believe it's Alex Rodriguez. No, it's Mark Light Field at Alex Rodriguez Park. I'm pretty sure that's the official name of where the Canes play, and we're gonna get very familiar with the University of Miami, because something that if you're looking at the schedule, you might see FIU plays the Hurricanes 4 times, which is actually crazy. They usually play them twice, one at home, one on the road, but they will host the Canes on March 15th. They'll go over to Coral Gables on March 28th, and then they'll meet back again in May the 10th at Coral Gables, and then May the 16th at home. So, damn, four times we have to play the Hurricanes, who have been nationally ranked and have played in tournaments. So they're no joke, right? And a lot of the teams we're playing are no joke. You have an SEC school in Missouri. You have Florida Gulf Coast, Stetson, some very high-quality opponents that FIU plays quite frequently in Stetson. And then, of course, you have your Conference USA schedule down the line. And overall, some great opponents, some opponents we don't know much about, such as Harvard. You have an Ivy League school. That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
And, of course, George Mason. FIU did play George Mason last season, I believe.
Well, so, I'm looking at George Mason's history against FIU, and FIU just, it's very favorable. I'm currently in the FIU Athletics baseball schedule. FIU's 5-1 all-time against George Mason, which will be the opening day game. Jake and I will both be there, 100%. No one is going to stop us. They're on a 3-game win streak. The last game was an FIU win, 7-5. We mentioned Harvard, which I'm going to go over them right now. FIU does have a favorable history against them. 1 win and 1 tie. I did not know there were ties in NCAA baseball.
Yeah, if they go a little too long, or if there's just like a delay, like a weather delay, and they don't want to make it up, they'll just call it. But
this is gonna be the first time since 2007 they play Harvard. So
yeah, I mean, it's just Ivy League and Harvard. The Harvard is the face of the Ivy League, and it's kind of a strange matchup. FIU going up against an Ivy
and
League school.
then
Something you hardly ever see in football. It's something you hardly ever see in basketball, but in baseball, it happens more than you think. So,
and then the team that we were just talking about, Miami's not very good against them.
No.
FIU's not good against them. Last year, FIU lost 17-1. Were you at that game, Jake?
Yes, I was. I didn't miss a Canes game last season. As a matter of fact, Jonathan Mayer and I actually went out to Coral Gables to watch the FIU Miami game there. We actually called the game on radio, which was super cool. It was super awesome.
Got you guys credentials and stuff?
Yep. He got us credentials courtesy of the Canes. We went to Mark Light Field. We had their famous Mark Light milkshakes, which I guess is what they're known for at that.
Are we trying that, Jake, when we go over there?
Hell yes, of course. You bet your ass we're trying those.
Are they worth the hype?
They are worth the hype. I'll say that. They're a bit overpriced. It's like $7 for a milkshake. It's like, but they did taste good. Okay. But it's one of those things where you have to try once. It's like you go to FIU, 100%. You got to go to Breezeway, you got to get those cookies, right?
100%, dude. Yeah. All right. So FIU 6-11 all time.
Mm-hmm.
FIU's on a current 6-game losing streak against the Hurricanes. So,
yeah.
And I just want to mention one thing about the Hurricanes. They have an absolute stud prospect who will probably be going in the first round of the MLB draft. I am going to search up his name right now.
Mm-hmm.
But he is, I believe, also son of a former major leaguer. So I just want to mention him very quickly, give him a shout out. I believe he's a third baseman. Could be a future Marlin. I mean, just with a Marlin stack up in the draft, you could definitely see him there. I'm just going to pop this up right now.
Spoiler alert, we'll talk a bit more about the Marlins later on. They made a big splash, pun intended.
There's a reason why Jake is hosting today, not me, because it's been
Yep.
It's been a busy afternoon, but all right.
It's been a busy afternoon. Kevin can attest to that as well. But let's bring it back to FIU. So the FIU baseball team. Last season they went 16-34. They ended the season with a 4-game losing streak.
That is the stud, Yoandy Morales, third baseman, 6'4", 290 pounds, right-handed hitter. Just keep an eye out on him when they come over to FIU and Miami, and then FIU goes over to Miami.
Yeah. So, when it comes to baseball, FIU's sort of in a blank slate, similar to how football was when Butch Davis was ultimately canned. They brought in a brand new coaching staff, but they're still retaining most of the roster. So last season, the Panthers went 16-34. They were only 8-22 in the conference, right? Most of their wins came out of conference. Granted, they did get some nice wins against opponents like Bethune-Cookman, Seton Hall. They won their first series against St. Thomas of Minnesota, which was I know St. Thomas of Minnesota, the Tommies. I've never heard of them. But it was actually a great series. You would have thought the season would have began great based off of the first game alone, where I believe it was Alex Sanchez hit a walk-off single to win the game against St. Thomas, the first game of the season last year. It was super exciting. But
let's hope they could beat George Mason then.
They were swept against UConn. They were swept against Jacksonville. They were swept against, I believe, South Florida, and they were swept against Southern Mississippi, swept against the University of Texas San Antonio, and they played 3 games against FAU. They lost 2 of those, and they were swept against Rice to end the season. So,
and we mentioned FAU. I'm just gonna keep going with the historical looks here.
Yeah,
17 wins, 46 losses against FAU. The last game, obviously, May 1st, 2022, FAU won 5-2, 11-5, and not looking good there. So let's hope FIU could transition into Rich Whitten as the coach, I believe.
Yes, Rich Whitten is the brand new coach for FIU baseball. He's the 5th head coach in program history, and he had previously spent 5 seasons at Virginia Commonwealth, VCU, where he was the hitting coach and recruiting coordinator. So during his last season with the VCU Rams, they've got a 42-20 record. Their second straight Atlantic 10 conference championship. So he's got some experience.
How did those guys fare hitting? How was their offense? What was their overall batting average? That's what we got to look at. He's a hitting coach.
Yeah.
And that's the stat I think you got to look at when it comes to someone who's entering as a hitting coach. And in this case, Rich Witten, that's what he was. And I don't know how FIU fared statistically last season, but probably not too good.
No, as a matter of fact, when it came to offense, they were one of, if not the lowest ranked teams in the conference.
There it is. Yeah.
Now, granted, the majority of players for FIU baseball last season were newcomers, with the exception of some veterans. Now, those newcomers have become veterans in the roster, and let me explain. The majority of the roster heading into opening day this season is mainly returning players, and most of them are either juniors, redshirt juniors, and even seniors and redshirt seniors. FIU all of a sudden has a lot of age on their team, which is great.
Oh, yeah, I'm looking out right
experience, now. And they have some key returning players, like of course Dante Girardi, son of Joe Girardi. You may have heard of him if you're a baseball fan. He had a fantastic season last year. He's returning as our infielder.
Maybe we see Girardi at the game. You never know.
Oh, I have seen him. I have seen him before.
He does not have a job right now, so
negative. No, I have seen him at the games. He and of course you have other returning players like Steven Ondina. So a lot of the players I'm about to say that are returning are very familiar because they spent a lot of time at FIU. You have Steven Ondina, you have Robert Sotolongo, you have Alex Sanchez, the big man who I was just talking about, hit that walk-off against St. Thomas last season. He's returning. He's like the big man with the bat for the Panthers. It's going to be exciting to see him evolve as well. You have Noel Perez, Mario Zavala, you have Adrian Figueroa. Just going down the list here. Just a lot of returning players. You have Zach Lampton coming back, pretty much a veteran. Your pitching rotation has become mainly veterans, which is always great, especially for a pitching rotation to have a lot of experienced players. I like what I see with the FIU baseball's roster. I'm happy that most of the players have returned.
I want to mention to you, Alex Sanchez, you mentioned him, took a huge jump from 2021 to 2022. Began batting 214, now at 274. He was an RBI machine with 36 of them, 10 homers. Has some speed, 5 triples. Did not expect to see that, 10 doubles. Besides that, not much more to say about him. Just a good I guess you could say on-base machine, 357 OBP. So yeah, this is definitely an interesting player that you mentioned here, Jake. And again, I'm just now learning these guys, like I had to do with football, like I had to do with basketball. But we'll get it done. And baseball, as you know, is my forte. I definitely need to adjust to these guys.
And you're going to be happy, I believe, with what you see from FIU baseball this season. I think that the optimism for FIU baseball was about the same as the optimism when Mike McIntyre took over for FIU football. You have sort of a veteran leader, a fresh face for the program, and I'm very happy to see where the baseball team goes from here. Because I hate to say it, with as bad a season as they had last year, it can only get better from here, right? And FIU baseball, I kid you not, is a program that really prides itself on a very young but rich history. They've made appearances in Omaha. They have made waves in the college baseball world, in the same way that men's soccer is making waves now. Baseball was that team back in the day, back in the 90s and early 2000s.
I think we got to talk about the player you mentioned, Dante Girardi. What do you consider him the star of this team?
It's tough.
Not the star, but he is the most recognizable name on that team.
Yeah, he's the most recognizable because of the rich history of Girardi. And yeah, he is a great player. I would say the biggest star right off the bat, last year I think it was Alex Sanchez, because
he was really good.
He made some of the biggest plays He made some of the biggest hits. He was like the Stanton to FIU last year. That was his role. He was Stanton. And again, all these players are returning, and that makes me very, very happy.
It's good too, because then these guys know, it's a lot better. Just a better team.
Mm-hmm.
I guess, how can we say this? Team mold. They're better molded together now. Know each other a lot better. So, yeah, not much more to say there. This team looks pretty good, and we're very excited to cover it ourselves here for Paws Up.
Mm-hmm.
So it should be a fun season.
Something you might recall is that a former player last year for FIU, pitcher Patrick Pridgeon, was selected by the Detroit Tigers in the 2022 MLB draft, sort of continuing the trend of at least one FIU Panther getting drafted per year, which is super cool.
Yeah, he's one of those top-ranked guys,
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of opportunities coming forward for a lot of players here to get drafted. I know they're in their junior years, but you see a player like Alex Sanchez, a redshirt senior. He has one more year to really prove himself to scouts and to the major leagues.
That may be the guy. That may be the guy we have to really take a deep dive into. Then, Jake.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we're excited for baseball. It's going to be super fun, and we hope to see you all there at the game supporting this team. And again, if you're a student that really wants to go to baseball, I think this is going to be a great schedule that works for you, because the majority of their home games are going to be in February and March, which is obviously when the spring semester is really going on. And then as April and May occur, there's going to be still plenty of home games, but the majority of the road games are going to be in the months of April and March, or April and May, excuse me, when most students have finished their semesters or have even graduated. So I like the schedule. And of course, in late May is the Conference USA Championship Series in Houston. And then after that, it's Omaha time. Hopefully,
we're getting you a ticket over to Houston, Jake.
Ooh, that would be fun. That would be fun.
If they're good, we have to consider it. If they're one of the top teams,
yeah, we absolutely do. And Kevin, you're gonna have a blast covering FIU baseball.
When I tell you I'm excited, this is something I've been looking forward to. Out of all the sports, football was amazing. Basketball, we've gone to one game. We have to definitely go to more. We will.
Yeah.
It's fun, and then baseball. You know how much I love baseball.
Oh yeah.
And this should be extremely fun. When I was covering some of the soccer games, I would just look on the other side of the baseball stadiums, like,
yeah,
that's gonna be fun, man.
It's a nice stadium, right? It's close to the football stadium, so you can't get lost. And it's right next to the nature preserve. It's a great spot on campus. The food there is good. They serve Cuban sandwiches. They serve croquetas. Very nice food coming.
They have milkshakes though.
Oh, I don't think they do. That's Miami's forte.
That's Miami's forte. All right.
Yeah. But overall, the experience of covering the games there, whether you're inside the media center or outside at the tents, it's a great view. And of course,
like football.
Sorry,
they have tents like football.
Yeah, they have a couple of tents outside for the broadcasters.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I would know. I've been to like 20 games where Johnny and I broadcasted some FIU baseball. It was fun.
We hope to be inside.
Yeah. So that's baseball, and again, it's coming up real soon. We probably got to get Johnny back in here.
We'll get him on soon.
A few days before opening it to be like, hey, give us the lowdown.
Yeah, dude.
Because if there's someone I've seen that I don't think I've seen anybody else that covers FIU baseball quite like Jonathan Mayer. He is the man.
Yeah.
All
right, so basketball time.
Basketball. What's going on right now?
It's not looking good.
Yeah. FIU men's basketball. 4 straight L's. Ugh.
Yeah.
A 4-game skid. They've lost 2 games in the great state of Texas against UTEP and the North Texas Mean Green. Both. Well, the UTEP game wasn't really close. They lost by 20, but the North Texas game was winnable, right? And prior to that, of course, the FAU loss, which we've already talked about, and then a loss against Western Kentucky. So, just what's going on? What's going on with this basketball team right now, Kevin?
I really don't know what to tell you, man. I mean, it's been tough. The FAU game, I guess you could call it a moral victory. You would have assumed after playing like this, how they played against Charlotte, UAB, and FAU, that a game like Western Kentucky would kind of be more not a steamroll, but it would be a win. And it just was not a win. That was a very, very disappointing loss in my eyes. Just gonna go open the box score quickly to see who performed and who didn't. Because to be honest with you, it's been very difficult for me to watch these games with how my schedule's worked out. I don't know how much you've watched, but I have not watched too much.
Yeah, FIU basketball has been a very fun team to watch, right? We've seen a lot of the games. Of course, we were at Incarnate Word. We both watched UAB. We both watched FAU. This is a team that can get on runs early, and when their offense is hot, they're hard to beat, right? But at the same time, they give up a lot of points too.
I mean, just for example, Denver Jones did not perform well in this game against Western Kentucky. Only 9 points. Their leading scorer was Arturo Dean, who also was the leader in rebounds with 9. So I guess that's impressive enough. I mentioned in my preview when talking about what's his team, Western Kentucky, that they have the big man.
Yeah,
and I believe Jamarian Sharp. He had an amazing game. 10 rebounds, 3 blocks. You just kind of feel like FIU really couldn't stick with him. And Honda Sanogo, another player, I've been pretty high on. I've compared him to Bam Adebayo, just the height and what he does.
Yeah.
10 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 blocks, 1 steal. Kind of played pretty good there. But, I mean, Nick Guadarrama has been amazing for this team. Arturo Dean, another player. So they played well, but when you don't have your main scorer, Denver Jones, leading the pack, you kind of realize that this team is really not gonna get far. And I want to check now
what's interesting. You bring up Denver Jones. He in the game against UTEP, the University of Texas El Paso, the Miners. He scored 18 points. He was the leading scorer for FIU.
And so was he on the game against UNC.
Yeah, it still was not enough. In any event, Denver Jones, like you said, needs to carry the team, and he kind of did, but it just was not enough. Some of the other key role players just didn't really stand out enough in those games. Not to mention, of course, you're giving up 81 points to an 11-8 team, right? And it's not a shot against UTEP. They're doing fine. And again, FIU is 8-11, and they're only 2-6 in the conference right now.
I see.
It's not panicking time, right? It's not
at all. You have time. You're playing. I mean, you're playing UKW again. You're going. I mean, after that Middle Tennessee game, Jake.
Yeah,
that's when you really gotta start worrying. If this team gets a couple wins in there before that game against Charlotte or Middle Tennessee on January 28th, which I'll be there. I don't know if you will be there for that game, but I will be at the Middle Tennessee game. That's when it really is gonna start. That's when the intensity gets high because you're playing Charlotte, a really good team, University of Alabama, UAB, and you're lucky that you don't have to play FAU again because that team is putting up. I mean, they're now ranked, Jake. They're ranked for the first time in program history on a 17-game win streak, Jake. I know we're not an FAU podcast, but you got to give them their flowers, man. Those guys are killing it. But yeah, I mean, you're playing Rice, you're playing Middle Tennessee, UTEP again. You're playing UTSA. I don't know how good they've been this year.
I do want to talk about UTSA because that's who FIU is playing next. That's on their schedule. They're playing in San Antonio tomorrow at 3 p.m. I feel like this has become a must-win. They're 7-13. They're 1-8 in the conference. They're on a 5-game losing streak. 7-6 at home. This is UTSA is considered one of the bottom feeders of Conference USA at the moment. So
you mentioned FIU just isn't good against them at all.
They need to get this one. They need you need to throw history aside here because I said that it's not time to panic, but if FIU keeps dropping these games, we need to start thinking about it because
after this game, if they lose this game, you start panicking.
Because with an 8-11 record right now, they're only 6 losses away from their 17-loss season last year, right? And I hate to say it, a lot of people were calling for Coach Ballard to be fired after the end of last season. I wasn't one of those people, but I heard a lot of people say that after a 15-17 season.
So let's talk about that. So FIU loses this game. They would be having a similar record from last year.
Yeah, so they would be
Then
8-12 after this.
He's a great guy. Let's start off
Yeah,
by that. We have seen him in person. He's
of
spoken to
course.
us. What a guy.
He's a really cool dude.
Cool dude. But, if you are having back-to-back seasons with a roster that's, I would say, very talented, you do have to start considering the fact that, man, this guy could really get fired.
There really is a possibility.
Maybe Raja Bell or Carlos Arroyo want to coach?
I don't know, but
that would be dream scenarios. But we'll talk about that in the offseason if it does happen.
We'll talk about that in the offseason, but the thought of a player turning into a coach in a college level worries me, especially with FIU after the old Isaiah Thomas debacle way back in the day.
Oh, yeah. I remember that. I want to ask, how was that, dude?
It was just a small athletics program at the time, reeling in obviously a big name player, and it was mainly just for the name, but not really for the talent when it came to coaching, and didn't really work out for the Panthers back then. And I hate to say it, it's not really working out right now either, with an 8-11 record. Granted, the next home game for FIU is on Thursday, January 26th against Western Kentucky at the Ocean.
You'll be there, or what's the move?
Maybe.
It's a big game.
It is a big game because you're playing an opponent that you've already lost to, though you didn't lose that badly. You only lost by 11.
Yeah. And not only that, it would be the first time in the season we will cover back-to-back games if that happens.
Yeah. True. You've already done most of the work, all right, covering Western Kentucky. That'd be like the easiest article. Just hit the copy and paste button.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, maybe.
Time is running out though, because we're approaching late January. You have the entire month of February against some mixed opponents, and then a couple of games in early March, and then all of a sudden we're talking about Conference USA tournament appearances. And as it's looking right now, if FIU continues to fall down the rabbit hole they're in now, there's no shot that they're making the tournament.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of where I wanted to get to, that UTSA, you have to win that game. You kind of got to go on a little win streak here, Jake. I mean,
you got a win streak going. I like to hear that.
You got to get a win streak going here. UTSA should be able to win. Western Kentucky, you should be able to win. Mm-hmm. Middle Tennessee, I don't know how they're doing this season. I don't know if you want to check that out for me, but you should be able to beat that. It's that Charlotte game, Jake. It's the Charlotte game and moving on, where you have to tell yourself you need to win almost every single one of those games. And FIU almost has to be perfect. That's where I want to get to. FIU basketball, they have the talent. We've seen it. Those guys are extremely good. I mean, you have Denver Jones, led by Arturo Dean right after, who's your main point guard. That guy has been an amazing find. You hope he doesn't enter the transfer portal anytime soon, or any of these guys do, because they're very, very talented. And Chris Ballard right now is basically coaching for his job. If he has another unsuccessful season, you may be looking at a new coach for FIU basketball.
It would be crazy too, because 2 years ago. Sorry?
How long has Chris Ballard been there?
So Coach Ballard has been the coach of FIU men's basketball for, I want to say, like 5 years. Don't quote me on that. I'll double check right now.
When you got there, was he there?
Yes, he was.
Right, around that time.
Yeah.
And has he had?
Oh, yeah. So 2018, he was hired. So.
Okay. How would you describe his tenure at FIU so far? Obviously a lot about him.
Statistically, not great.
Yeah.
But there is always room for improvement, right?
Okay.
Let's look at his first season. 20-14, not too shabby, right? You go to the Conference USA tournament, you get bounced in the first round.
So that's kind of what I want to ask you. Do you always go into the Conference USA tournament?
No.
Despite record? Okay.
No. Now 2019, 19-13, not too bad either, right? They were going to be they made it again to the Conference USA tournament, but that was around the time when COVID began to strike, right? So they never really got to finish it. But in 2020, it was a shortened season, but they went 9-17. And then last year they went 15-17, and the writing's on the wall this season.
Yep.
Yeah. So I don't want to sit here like being depressed at how FIU's on a 4-game losing streak.
You don't have to. I mean,
we've all seen this happen before.
Yeah.
But there needs to be a turnaround for the Panthers quickly, and I do think it can begin against UTSA, which I do think, and I think you and I agree, is a must-win game for sure.
100%. Yep. News break.
By the way, you asked about Middle Tennessee. They are 12-7. They are winners of 3 straight games. They are 5-3 in the conference.
Does not look good, but
so they're no pushover.
That'll be a fun game. That'll be a fun game to cover.
Oh, it would, and that is the great thing about this schedule, is that there's a lot of mixed opponents on FIU's list so far. But before we get into Newsbreak, I do want to go over the current standings in Conference USA to drive home a point.
Go for it.
The best team, to no one's shocker, in the conference is FAU. Right there, they are. Just want to get this. They're 8-0 in the conference, 18-1 overall. I think the one team they didn't beat was like an SEC school. So FIU. Keep in mind, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 teams in Conference USA in basketball at the moment. FIU is second to last. They're just in front of UTSA.
That is not good.
It's not good. And
I'll reiterate it again. Such a talented team, man. You look at these guys, and you really think this would be one of the not one of the best teams, but one of the middle tier to upper tier teams in Conference USA, and it's just unfortunate how things fall with FIU. And you maybe you do have to blame Coach Ballard, because I don't know. You just gotta make. Sometimes the coach ends up being the blame here. Bad development of players, who knows? But this team should not be the talent on this team does not speak for the record that they're at this moment.
Yeah, and again, I want to go over FIU 2-6 in the conference record. That's the second worst conference record behind UTSA, which is only 1-8. FIU is on a 4-game losing streak. The only team that's worse than that is, again, UTSA, who has lost 5.
Yep.
FIU is 0-4 on the road against Conference USA opponents.
Does not make you feel any better about the game tomorrow
against UTSA, right? Yeah, but there's always time to turn it around. By the way, behind FAU it goes North Texas, then Rice, then Middle Tennessee, UAB, UTEP, Louisiana Tech, Charlotte, Western Kentucky, FIU, and then UTSA right at the bottom. So I love Coach Ballard, and I love a lot of the players on this team, but they're just not getting the results that we expected them to before this season even began.
Who do you blame for the FIU Panthers, I guess, disappointment so far? I've given you mine. I think it's a lot on Coach Ballard and the staff.
I think it's on coaching as well. I don't think it's completely on Coach Ballard.
Obviously
I think it's
not
just on the entire coaching staff as well. But if there's going to be a scapegoat,
if
there's going to be a scapegoat here, it's going to have to be the head coach. And after 3 if it continues like this would be his 3rd straight losing season. Granted, the season in 2020 was extremely short, but still.
How short?
It was like less than 30 games.
So a lot.
Yeah.
Not for a college season, obviously, but yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Jake. It's your time to shine, huh?
All right.
All right, let's do this. Get up.
We don't like to be all depressive here, but I know it's kind of tough to transition into Newsbreak after that. But I do have a couple of things to share here on Newsbreak, where we go over some of the biggest and latest news in FIU athletics and just FIU in general. So let's start off with FIU football. Defensive back Dorian Hall, the 6th-year senior, will be playing in the upcoming 2023 Tropical Bowl, which is essentially an all-star game that features over 100 FBS players in a format that's similar to that of the Reese's Senior Bowl, which is usually nationally televised. The game is set for tomorrow, actually, at 4 p.m. in Orlando, Florida. FIU will be the only Panther featured in the Tropical Bowl. But good, congratulations, Dorian. We hope you have a great game that a lot of scouts will be looking for in the NFL, not just the NFL, but also in the upcoming spring football leagues, such as the XFL and USFL. And in addition to that, FIU receives a $3 million NIH grant to research how electronic stimulation can solve bladder issues. Researchers are building a computerized model that would inform new, highly targeted, and less painful treatments for people with lower urinary tract conditions, with the support of a $3 million 5-year grant from the National Institution of Health. So researchers want to understand how electric stimulation of certain specific nerves could help people struggling with underactive bladders, one of the most common lower urinary tract problems, with many treatment options caused by aging, disorders, Parkinson's, and much more. So kudos to FIU for that. And hopefully, usually when FIU gets grants as big as this, they really make some magic happen on that field. Of course, we talked earlier with some of the newer concrete materials. That was in a previous episode of the PawsUp Podcast. And there you go. That was your very, very brief look at the FIU news break.
All right, let me bring myself back here. All right,
there you go.
Alrighty, football time. Very, very short and brief. We're going to talk football. We'll also talk Marlins.
Mm-hmm.
Now all right, so this is the thing. We did our football predictions this week.
Yes.
Jake and I were invited on to, the Evening Juice, the weekly show that the the higher ups of us, our good buddies, Edwin and Gus, host.
The NFL Stradamus.
Let me see if I could find that, man.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It was a fun show. We just talked about what we saw in the wild card round, and we made predictions for the divisional. So we've already made it, and it was super fun.
Yeah. Oh, look at that.
Look at that. Hey, it's the background.
There it is.
The NFL Stradamus up there, Edwin, Gus, some of the other playmakers on the show. That, by the way, on the bottom right, that Ronaldo picture is just messing with me. Seeing him in that uniform, it's like,
I know, dude. Oh, look at this.
It's like, what's going on here?
Is this the new backdrop, Jake?
Ooh, I kind of like it. You know, when we bring in a member of, look at all these backgrounds you got, Kevin. Man,
I'm just seeing these now. Wow. Oh, this one you're gonna love.
Oh, is that the great court design?
Just because we talk so much trash.
We'll keep this. We didn't mean to talk trash. We're just talking about what we're seeing, man.
I'm very scared to play this, but we're gonna play it.
Stop being a bitch.
Not good. All right, think on no one. I think you could cut that one out, Edwin and Gus, if you're editing.
Oh my god! All right, thank you, Lemon City, the Evening Juice, for having us on, and we'll quickly go over who we picked. The first game was Jags and Chiefs. I think we both took the Chiefs, but close.
Yeah, and I think this is something that we both mentioned. You mentioned before I hopped on the Evening Juice that I think you could tell the people how we did last week. I think I went 5-1.
So let's do that. So for the wild card round, let's go game by game. We both picked San Francisco, so we won that.
Yeah,
I took Los Angeles. You took Jacksonville.
I ended up taking Jacksonville then.
So you got the dub there. Kudos, Mr. Kevin.
I bet on them. I had to bet on them in real life as well.
Yep. We were both on Buffalo, and I think we were both on New York.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were both on.
Yes, we were on New York. Yep.
We were both on Cincinnati, and we were both on Tampa Bay. So, with that said, my record was 4-2, and you were 5-1. I think you had a better record than the NFL Stradamus.
Yeah, I think I did.
So kudos.
I'll take it, man. I'll take it.
Yeah.
Next, hopefully,
Kevin, come on.
Took a couple big time underdogs this week, and the picks. I think I took the Bengals over the Chiefs. I may have taken the Jaguars. No, Bengals over the Bills. I think I took the Jags over the Chiefs. So my record may not be the best.
That was your big time upset.
That was my big time upset. Yeah.
And again, if you want to watch, we went like really in depth as to why we picked each opponent in the podcast yesterday. So if you want to check that out, you can find it on Lemon City Live social media. You can watch the replay on YouTube and Facebook. But I took in the Jags Chiefs game, I took Kansas City. In the Giants Eagles game, I took Philadelphia. In the Bengals Bills game, I took Cincinnati. And in the Cowboys 49ers game, I took San Francisco. So, and I believe All of those were the favorite teams except for Cincinnati, who I think is an underdog.
Yep. Yeah.
So I believe you picked, with the exception of the crazy Jacksonville pick, we picked the same for every other game, I believe.
Did we? All right, nice. And we both took the Bengals for the Super Bowl.
Yeah. We went over Super Bowl, and I think it's going to be.
Yeah, dude. How did we not do that originally when we started this?
Yeah,
we got burnt for that one.
We should have. I took Cincinnati, San Francisco.
Alrighty, so
And
I went Cincinnati, Philadelphia.
Okay.
All right. Alrighty, so let's talk some FIU football. I'll kind of take over for this one.
Go for it.
All right, 6 transfers. You already know one of them, Avery Huff, the 4-star linebacker. I'm just gonna read down the list, and we're just gonna talk a little bit about the class so far. Cloud Larkins, D lineman from Hollywood, Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Shamari Lawrence, running back. So this is the first running back they signed.
Yeah.
Jacoby Matthews, Mississippi guy. Avery Huff, Fort Lauderdale. Let's keep looking down. They got 3 whole paragraphs for. All right. Elijah Anderson Taylor.
They went ham talking about these guys. I love it.
Yeah, Elijah Anderson Taylor, linebacker from Northern Colorado. And the final one is JoJo Evans.
Is that a JoJo reference?
It may be. Defensive back, Palm Beach Gardens.
I love that the majority of the players were from Florida. You have Palm Beach. You have a couple of Fort Lauderdale kids as well.
And that's something that McIntyre prides himself in, to get these guys from Florida. Man, Jake, I don't know if it's just me, but I thought he was going to be a pretty scary football team next year.
I love it. Every position that we were like skeptical of from last season, they've addressed.
Especially tight end. And they didn't sign any now in this round, but just look at the last one, Rowdy Beers, best college name out there. I believe Christian Pedersen is one of them. Man, I think, and Daly from the Bryant transfer. He's another one to look out for. And you really have to feel good about what FIU's done. I'm very, very excited.
And especially a lot of the players we got, all these transfers were from some big name schools. You bring up Claude Larkins, NC State, the Wolfpack. They had a phenomenal season last year.
Avery Huff.
Yeah. Shamari Lawrence, South Dakota. Hey, don't mess up with those Dakota teams. They're really, really good. They're really, really good.
FIU's building something. And Jake, we were talking about this, I believe, off camera before, well, not off camera, off stream before we hit the live button. But man, we're talking about this as well on kind of with Conference USA in general. It's kind of like the Wild West you mentioned.
Yeah, man, that was my analogy. It's the Wild West of college football. There's like a bunch of new teams.
Yeah, if
there's like it's weird. 9 teams in a conference is strange,
but
it just has so much opportunity for FIU to just snipe the conference.
How much is usually?
Mentioned, by the way, Avery Huff spent 2 seasons at the University of Miami. I believe that's like the second player now that we've gotten from the University of Miami.
Who was the first one?
Let me double check that. I
want to mention that I think FIU has such a good chance to take over this conference this upcoming year. I mean, who's really left? UNT's gone now.
Mm-hmm.
UTSA's gone.
Yeah, UTSA was like they were the powerhouse, and now they're just gone.
I mean, who blames them? They're going to a very good conference.
FAU is gone too. Obviously, we've talked about it before. The Shula Bowl rivalry, it's fun and all, but it wasn't really that much of a rivalry because we kept losing.
Let's take a look at the schedule now with FIU football.
Yeah.
LA Tech is still there. Liberty isn't that the new team, Liberty?
Yeah. The 4 teams joining are Liberty, New Mexico State, Sam Houston State, and Jacksonville State. So FIU's playing them all.
They're playing them all.
Mm-hmm.
New Mexico is also there, as you mentioned. I guess the big game will be University of Arkansas for FIU. I mean, we did a whole analysis of this.
We've already done an analysis on this, and we've shared our thoughts on how we see the season go.
And you can watch that in the last episode 7. Just check that out. And we went ham. Like,
by the way, JoJo Evans, the defensive back, played for both Kent State and Marshall.
Yeah, so third
So
time
I
ever,
believe he
right?
actually did play against FIU in 2021.
Let's check.
When he played
What
for the
team?
Marshall Thundering Herd. I believe he actually did.
What team? Marshall?
Yeah, the Thundering Herd.
Uh,
Again, one of those teams that's sort of abandoned ship of Conference
Jeez, man,
USA.
that's why you lost almost every game.
Oh, of course.
You
That's
said
what. That's why I think that we have a real opportunity here.
Found it. Lost 38-0.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
Jeez, man, I thought you lost every game after the opening game against Long Island.
I know. I was there. I saw it all. I witnessed it.
Did they play Patrick? Oh no, they did not play Patrick.
Ah, these newcomers, I swear.
They did not play Patrick Mahomes. They got him, they got lucky there.
What?
Texas Tech.
Oh yeah. Oh wow.
They
Yeah.
got lucky. They didn't play Pat
I
Mahomes.
believe Mahomes won a Super Bowl the same year we played Texas Tech.
Max Morton Schlager. Sorry. Yeah, wow, what a season for them. All right,
So
well,
to drive a nail in the coffin in this point, I'm very happy with these signings, and
yeah, and a lot of them will get playing time, especially.
Yeah,
yeah.
Like we already have stacked up our defensive backs and our linebackers, but it doesn't hurt to add more just for longevity and to really make sure that who we have starting for the first game of the season is the best we can have at that position. And we'll talk more about FIU in a future episode. Hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But
we'll make one announcement. We'll give you one sneak peek towards the end of who we're bringing on for the next episode. And then I'm just going to say this. Episode 10, Jake, that's going to be fun.
It's going to be fun. Episode 10.
Would I say it's the biggest guest we've had? Maybe not. And I hope he isn't watching this. But he's one of the most. He may be one of the most popular guys on campus.
We'll see. We have that under wraps. We have a bunch of cool episodes ahead of us, right? This is a shorter episode. I mean, 47 minutes is still quite a bit of time.
We're wrapping it up.
Yeah. Do you have anything to say, Mr. Kevin?
Well, just want to quickly mention that the Marlins traded Pablo Lopez to the
Minnesota right. We wanted to talk about the Marlins because Kevin has been in Marlins hell today, sort of going over everything that has happened. So take it away, Kevin.
Yeah, I'll give you guys the whole rundown of how this all went down. So, what time? Maybe around 2:45, maybe. Just in the car. Bam! Pablo gets traded. All right. Press release comes out, and at 5 is a press conference with Kim Eng. She makes a couple announcements. We post them out there. 7 p.m. We talk to the newest member of the Miami Marlins. Drumroll, please. Luis Arias, AL batting champ for 2022. This guy was maybe one of the best contact hitters out there. Hit 317 on base percentage, I believe, of 375, if I'm memorizing the stat correctly. Did not hit many homers. He does not walk too much, but he does not strike out almost at all, Jake. And you think of a guy, and you would have liked to get more in this trade. I do think Miami overpaid just a bit. I don't mind giving away a DSL guy, Dominican guy, a Dominican League guy in Brian Churio. But you may recognize the last name Churio. That is the last name of top prospect Jackson Churio for the Milwaukee Brewers. That guy's a stud, so Brian Churio may have been a stud, but who knows? He's younger than me. He's 17 years old. Yeah. So still very, very raw. Miami then gives up top prospect Jose Salas, top position player, or one of the top position players. He looked like he would have been a third baseman. He was playing short. Many project him as third. It really does suck. He was a Fish Stripes Unfiltered guest. From the ones that do not know, Fish Stripes Unfiltered is the show that I host with my buddy Isaac Azoot, and we bring on baseball players. We bring on Marlins.
No, please continue to plug
I am
the show even harder.
I am going to plug the shit out of that. Highly watch it. And yeah, I mean, Pablo's a great guy. Mm-hmm. I'll be sharing more of my thoughts on there. So stay tuned. But just to keep it short, and maybe if we could hit the 50-minute marker, that'd be very nice. But anything else, Jake, before we wrap up?
I just want to say thank you to everyone who's been watching us since episode 1. Again, the fact that we're 8 episodes in now in this little project, we've had a bunch of great guests on the show, and we have a few more slated for the next few episodes, and episode 10. I feel like for most podcasts, getting the ground up, the 10th episode is a special mark. You've put in the work, you've produced a lot of content, and the show has been evolving, right? We've seen it evolve from what it was originally when we bring on all these guests, we bring in these clips, this information, the news break. We even changed up our logo a little bit, made it a bit more refined.
We haven't added it on here. We have to add it.
Well, no, we got to do that. But
Jeez, we're sorry, guys.
But
wait, very quickly, Jake.
Yeah.
Lights out! Lights out!
And we're providing you absolutely no context for why we played that clip. Yeah, we're just
no context at all. We're just gonna end it right here, Jake. Right?
Yeah, we're just gonna leave it to your imagination. So everybody have a great rest of the night. And again, thank you if you've been watching on either our Twitter or the Lemon City Live Facebook or YouTube.
We appreciate
you guys enough for tuning in.
We appreciate the support, especially on social media. I mean,
yeah.
I have Instagram notifications on. I don't know if you do. Man, I do. I do. I get a notification every couple of minutes of a new 9-10 followers. Love the support there. If you're supporting the Instagram, go to the Twitter, man. We post some cool stuff on there every once in a while. We're gonna get more into that stuff. So just know we're growing. No one else is doing what we're doing, covering every single aspect of FIU athletics. Only FIU athletics with the podcast, live in-person coverage. Than us. And, I think that's about it, Jake. I think we said we would announce who our next guest would be, just to give you guys a little bit of I guess the teaser of who it's gonna be.
Okay.
You down to do this, Jake?
Yeah. So episode number 9, which is coming up real soon. I'm happy to announce that it is going to be the voice of the Panthers, AJ Ricketts.
Future professor of mine, probably.
AJ Ricketts. He's been the voice of FIU football and basketball for a very, very long time. And not that long ago, he even introduced a brand new class on campus, where he sort of teaches students how to broadcast, how to become a sportscaster, both a play-by-play commentator and a color commentator. I took it with Jonathan Mayer in my senior year. It was so much fun. If you are a new student looking for something to do, I absolutely recommend that class as an elective. And yeah, AJ Ricketts, a very experienced guy with FIU Athletics. It'll be fun to chat with him, and
should be a good time.
Should be a very good time. So we'll wrap it up here. Again, thank you everybody for watching, and just have a great rest of the day, and paws up.